and welcome to the Chrissy B Show, which is a program all about being happy and positive. So I'm going to say hello to my newsreaders first of all today. We've got Helena here and Ian.
Because we're happy and positive.
Because they're happy and positive.
Absolutely.
Yes. So even though people may be kind of feeling down in the dumps, that's what this show is all about, basically to uplift people and give them some hope that, you know, things can and will get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're looking forward again to tonight. So it's good fun.
Definitely.
Got some
Well,
great stories.
let's tell the viewers what's on today. So we have a few guests today. The first one is Eva Do, and she's going to be telling us about her innovative maternity wear collection. And also we have Ria Francis telling us about how her sleepless nights from having premature twins led her to writing a book. And also we have an interesting video. Now we can sometimes forget the little things in life, so we'll be watching some random acts of kindness that we forget can make someone's day. And we'll also have a fitness tip from Jane Rafter. Plus we have the lovely Hannah Richards in the studio today, and she's going to be helping us shift those extra pounds that may still be lingering after the festive period. And I can say that I am one of the guilty ones.
I think I'm one of the guilty ones too.
You too, yeah? I'm working hard though.
Yeah.
I've just got a couple more pounds to go to get back to normal, but I'm getting there.
As you know, at the moment we may be doing some fairy things, and I've had to sample all these different delights.
So you put on a few pounds.
So I put on, and last night I went and did this champagne night with them.
Okay.
On the Thames, which was very nice as well.
Ooh.
So the food was very good as well. So
Yeah, but
Now you've
on
got to get back to it.
Exactly.
Fitness regime.
I back on my sort of in my sort of mini gymnasium.
That's good. So what's in the news
Oh,
today?
as well, lots of little
Or this
bits and
week?
pieces. Well, Judi Dench. We do love Judi Dench. She's been talking about being 80 and her life and loving it, but wants to do something special for herself just before her 81st birthday. So she decided to have a tattoo.
Oh.
But it's sort of like, and her daughter Finty, I think, has sort of said, you know, Mum, go for it, go for it. I mean, I don't like tattoos in general, but something small and meaningful in a special place, I think is quite nice. So she's going for an Indian symbol, which is supposed to represent love and life.
Where's she going to have it done?
I don't know. Not sure. I'll leave that for Ian to find out.
Thank you very much.
No, it'd be somewhere.
She's actually, I mean, she's a very, very quiet person, Judi Dench. You know, I've worked with Judi Dench, and I've worked with her daughter Finty as well. I did Finty's first ever role. And she is, I mean, you have to sort of get very close to her even to hear what she's saying.
Really?
She's
quite shy.
in her own life, she is very, very quiet. She's a quiet person.
What would you like to have done?
What would I like to have
Because
done?
obviously that was something special to her. She wanted something small for her birthday. Would you have something?
Not a tattoo.
No. Do you know?
Well, the most I'd do is get a haircut or something.
Really?
Oh yeah, you don't, do you?
Maybe I should
Why?
do that. Oh, that's another story.
Oh,
That's one of those for another show.
Okay.
No, but it's time I had them done. I think.
Okay. What would Ian do?
What to make me happy? I'm happy anyway.
No, like say if you wanted a little
something
change,
small.
you could dye your hair black or blonde.
Yeah.
I'd do that anyway, Chrissy, isn't it tonight? Oh my God, he hasn't gone back to my normal colour, is it? I think, no, do you know, I'm happy with myself. I truly am, I'm happy with myself, you know, the way things are going these days. So I feel happy with each day. I feel privileged with each day. I really do. So I just love.
Maybe it's just us girls that like to change things around sometimes.
There's something special now.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
But I am working on myself. I'm working on being more healthy. Trying to lose weight as well. Yes, I'm working on
So
these
maybe
things as well.
Hannah's going to be helping us later with
Absolutely.
that. She's fab.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So very pleased to hear that Joanna Lumley and Jennifer Saunders are getting back together. Not for Ab Fab, but it's for the Great British Bake Off, which I think will be
That's
really
gonna be a
good
laugh.
fun. I think Lulu and Dame Edna as well, but it's for comic relief. But I love anything cooking anyway, so to add it with a bit of humour is going to be great fun.
Oh, that would be so
So
good.
that's exciting. Yeah.
And there's a big thing at the moment now, trying to get more women into top positions in business and in as entrepreneurs as well. And J.K. Rowling has been sort of put up as one of the sort of the prime examples, you know, of where women can actually get to in their lives. And it's, you know, I think this is something that we like as well.
I mean, she's a very inspirational woman. They're wanting more role models for women, and she obviously started off very poor, and she works really hard, and she's wants to give everything back. So it's quite exciting. Yeah. You okay?
Yeah. I was just trying to communicate with the cameraman without people noticing.
Now
you've just killed it.
I was so sorry.
I thought we were going to start playing
talking.
tic-tac then.
No, carry on. Don't worry, I was trying to do it discreetly. Thanks for that, Helena.
I think you're trying to whisper it now.
No, okay. Carry on.
I thought when you went like that.
Just to say, her motto, her desire to keep motivating people as well, that's something really inspirational with J.K. Rowling, which is good. Mr. Bean, I think he's a bit like Marmite. I have to say, I don't particularly like him.
You?
The character, Mr. Bean,
yeah,
it's not my favourite. 20 years ago, he finished the series. All those years ago,
really?
can you believe it?
People still know him as Mr. Bean.
He's huge in Asia and places like that.
You know,
it's just because it just travels everywhere, doesn't it? The sense of humour and because there's no talking. Yeah, it's like anyone can understand it really.
Yeah.
Years ago, I had to work with Rowan Atkinson on Mr. Bean. And he brought out a book.
Should we say something, Helena? Ian Pelham Turner.
Is someone I
Ian Pelham Turner is, yes, exactly. Is there anyone you have not worked with that you want to talk about?
Well, it's very relevant because he has a stutter, would you believe? He's got quite a pronounced stutter, Rowan Atkinson. And when he's doing a script, he's fine. But in his normal life, he actually has got quite a pronounced stutter.
That's strange, isn't it? How they sort of... it just kind of disappears when they're doing something else.
I think I made him stutter even more because the photograph I wanted with him was, at that time, part of Mr. Bean was appearing in pyjamas. I can't remember why now, but appearing in pyjamas. And so I actually wanted him walking down Hampstead High Street in his pyjamas.
That's not nice.
Which he did. I never worked with him again, but he did.
So Mr. Bean's coming back. I think he's doing Children in Need. No, it's not Children in Need, is it? Anyway, forget that for a second.
As well at the moment for a wonderful chocolate bar, which we can't name.
Comic Relief. It's the same thing as the Great British Bake Off. And he's also selling his Formula One. I didn't know he had an F1 McLaren car, which is also 20 years old, which is strange. And he's selling it now for someone else to enjoy.
He's a real petrol head, isn't he? I mean, he if I remember rightly, he tops the poll on being one of the fastest drivers, doesn't he?
Really?
Oh yeah, he's a real fanatic with his cars. He's got a collection of cars. Very wealthy person with Mr. Bean, and then obviously Blackadder series as well. A very wealthy person, from it.
That's another one. I think going back to Rihanna, it's a copyrighted character, and one of my artists got a lookalike of Mr. Bean, and he was doing work internationally, and it got stopped very quickly. And he makes a fortune out of Mr. Bean, the character.
Can you imagine?
Which is
just before you go on to the next one, because we are going to be having a video about the nicest thing someone's done for you. That's the theme. Can you think of anything off the top of your heads? Nicest thing someone's ever done for you?
Okay.
Go on then.
It was my father. I'm not sure if I've said this story before, but when I was about 8 years old, I saw this watch in the local jeweller's shop, and I saved for 2.5 years to actually buy this watch. It was £2.11 and sixpence, and one day I'd got to about £2.07 and sixpence, and I used to have it in a blue piggy bank, and I'd got all the money on my bed, and my father came and said, how'd you got all that money? And I'd saved all my birthday monies, everything I could possibly do. I did chores, I did the whole thing, and my father in those days would only probably have about 5 or 6 shillings for himself each week. But he gave me 4 shillings, so in other words, he couldn't smoke for the week. He gave me that extra 4 shillings and actually bought that watch for me.
That's nice.
Yeah. So
I've
I
had
love
lots
that.
of little things, but there's nothing that really stands out. But one thing, there's a have you heard the story about the young mum and son on the train? Which is a very sweet story, and they got picked. Well, a guy was listening in to their conversation, and she was teaching him manners and everything on the train, and he was so thrilled that there was a young lady obviously bringing the next generation up so well, and he wrote her a little note and just with £5 just said, really respect you, it's amazing to have people like you in the world, have a drink on me. And she tracked him down, so there's all this media and they've on morning programmes, but it's just something very small.
It's so important to do nice things for people, even if it doesn't have to be like a massive gesture, and it doesn't have to cost very much. It's just to make someone smile, just to be nice to them. It just helps, doesn't it? Run out of time, but we'll see you again next time. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hopefully a bit slimmer.
A bit slimmer, yeah. Definitely. Right, okay, so after the break, we're going to be having our fitness tip with Jane Rafter, and also Eva's going to be telling us about how perseverance can lead to success.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to the show. Now, before I meet my first guest, let's take a look at this fitness tip with Jane Rafter.
Hi everyone, it's Jane here with your fitness tips. I'm going to show you how to get the technique right on a very common abdominal exercise, the bent knee scissor exercise that you see everywhere. I see this done badly a lot of times. I'm going to give you some technique pointers to make sure you feel it in the tummy and the side of the waist and the lower abs as well. So the exercise that I'm talking about, you'll recognise it when I do it, is this one. So most of you at some point, I'm sure, have either seen it or done it yourself. And I'll just show you the common mistake that people make. They lift up, and then as they go across to the opposite knee, they've got no stability around the pelvis, and they're rolling across side to side. Can you see that? Can you see what's happening here? So I'm rolling across, just using momentum. So what you want to do instead is hold your hips and your bum still on the floor. And the twist should be across the waist and not in the hips, if that makes sense. So I'm going to hold the bum down and twist and twist. So the hips are still, the pelvis is still, and the rotation is through the waist. And the other thing that you need to make sure of is that your shoulders are coming up off the floor. So make sure that you're not just in a head lift like this. All right, you'll need to be lifted up so that you feel the upper section of your abdominals engage, and then you're in business. So good luck with your technique, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you very much to the lovely Jane. So now we're joined with Eva Do. Did I say it right? Yes. How are you, my love?
I'm pretty well, thank you very much. And you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you.
So you are a fabulous fashion designer.
Yes, a startup.
Okay, but you weren't always a fashion designer, weren't you? Because you went through a few difficulties in your life.
Exactly, and I always choose something else, like what my background was dictating me. Because my mother, she was a fashion designer, and she was always telling me, like, be a fashion designer. You can get everything what I had, all my experiences. But I said to her, like, look, it's my life and I need to travel. I want to just experience what I want to do and see the world.
But how was the traveling for you?
It was amazing. Yeah. I wouldn't change anything what I just experienced there. It was a really, really good experience.
Okay.
It just really opened my mind, like for what I really want to create, and like for new cultures.
So the thing is, though, you did actually end up going back to fashion design. So your mum was kind of pushing you to do it, and you were like, no, I've got my own life, I don't want to do it. So what made you actually go back to wanting to do what your mum originally said?
Unfortunately, I had to lose my mum in order to realize how much importance is fashion is in my life. So it was a really hard time for me to just recognize this loss, but actually it helped me to shape my vision, like what I want to be.
Okay, so you lost your mum. Now, a lot of people in that situation, because you're obviously close to her, because it did impact you in such a big way.
Yeah.
A lot of people in that situation, when they lose someone, it feels like you can't go on without this person, and then you have those feelings of guilt and so many emotions that come when you do lose someone that you love.
Oh my God, yes, I felt.
And you went through all of that, didn't you?
Of course, I was really down. I was really depressed. But somehow I really felt grateful as well, because I had this person next to me. And I had a really good relationship with my mom, and she was really, as I see it now, she was my spiritual leader, like to be how I am now. Yeah. And I can appreciate the world around me, and you actually learned a lot from her without even realizing, didn't you? Exactly.
Then you started applying everything to what you're doing today.
That happened. That really happened.
How did you actually, before we get on to your fashion, how did you actually pull yourself out of that depression that you were in and sort of feeling so low? Was it like a day that you thought, you know what, it's enough now, I'm going to move on, or did you need some help?
It's a good question, but I felt I was okay. Actually, how I saw when it happened, I was the strongest in the family. I was always telling them, like, look, we have to cope with it, you know, and we just have to see the positive side, what we had.
Yeah.
And after that, of course, I had this really down period of time. But I said to myself, I have to do something with my life. So after I decided to come to London and study fashion design.
Okay.
Of course, it wasn't like fashion design, because first I wanted to do photography. Because through my traveling, I just realized, like, photography is a beautiful thing, and it can really express lots of things.
Yeah.
But still, I felt it's not enough for me, because photography is quite manual, you know, like, and it's like all about
you wanted to do something more sort of creative,
tangible, and
which you've bought some items there next to you. Now, now these are actually maternity garments, although I mean, looking at them, they're beautiful. Anyone could wear these.
Exactly.
Can you talk us through sort of the designs and how it works? Because you've done something very innovative, actually.
Yes,
because you know how it is for ladies that are breastfeeding, it's quite hard and like sometimes a bit undignified for them, because they can't sort of, you know, do it comfortably and discreetly. Can you tell us about the outfit?
Exactly. Actually, what I wear now, it's a breastfeeding top as well.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
You see, multi-purpose. You see.
Yeah, exactly. Under this layer, there is a little discreet hole.
Yeah.
For the breastfeed, and actually the mother can hide the baby. In these 2 layers.
That's such a good idea.
Exactly, and it's really private, you know, and they just
let's have a look at it. If you pass me one of them over there.
Yes, this is a top.
First, I mean, the quality is beautiful, and the design and everything, and then you can. If
I
can just show you the little flap here.
Yeah.
And then you can breastfeed very discreetly, and you look beautiful at the same time. Because sometimes a lot of mums they feel a bit frumpy. They feel like, you know, not very fashionable, and then you've got something lovely like this.
That's how I felt as well when I was like creating these tops, and actually now it's dresses as well. Now I'm just started to develop more things.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Now, why did you pick sort of maternity wear? Because this is Vicabond.
Vicabond, exactly.
Why did you choose maternity in sort of above other things?
Because I've seen the gap in the market.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt like here I can do something which is worth and has value. Because that's the trouble with fashion design and fashion designers. They're just creating, you know, and I was in the same, you know, I always wanted to create. I always ask my questions like, why am I doing this? Is there any reason behind, or I just want to just create something? But with this, I felt I just feel the gap.
That's it. That's a very important thing, though, because sometimes people would just sort of get into the market and just produce what everyone else is doing.
Exactly.
Not be very good at it because there's so much competition.
You know, and no need for another jacket and another skirt.
Yeah. And how is it going? How are people responding to
they
your
really
things?
much liking it, and they really appreciating it.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have a fashion show coming up soon.
Which is in March, isn't it? The fashion show.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is that your first one that you're having?
Exactly.
Oh, exciting!
Yeah.
So what are you planning to do there at the fashion show? What are you going to be?
It's gonna be a catwalk for me.
Oh, nice.
And I'm gonna show like 8 outfits.
8. Wow.
8. Yeah.
That's
and
really
I want
amazing.
to introduce a baby in the show as well, like you know, like just.
Well, that's different.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What would you say the future holds for you? What are you planning to do? Because I know you're not going to stop here, because you look like a very creative and driven person.
Yeah. For me, I would like to keep my business small, and I really would like to focus on quality.
Yeah.
And that's it, basically. You know, like
producing good quality.
Exactly. Yeah. And individual pieces.
Yeah.
So I don't really want to go for mass production. I would rather just keep it slow and get the contacts with my customers as well. I would like to offer them free photo shoots with their babies, and just to show how important it is to breastfeed and bond together with the baby.
Breastfeeding fashionably.
Exactly.
So cool. Now, just before we go, Eva, if someone's wanted to go into business, what advice would you give them? Maybe your top tip for success. What would you say to them?
Without action, there is no satisfaction.
There you go, people. Yes. Nice and short, and we're going to leave it there because we have to go to break. Eva, thank you so much. It's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you. All right, well, don't go away because we have another inspirational lady joining us very soon called Rhea Francis, and she's going to be telling us how her sleepless nights from having premature twins led her to writing a book.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we're going to be speaking to our next guest, Rhea Francis, in just a moment. But first of all, let's take a look at some random acts of kindness. So you see, everyone, just a little act of kindness can go a long, long way. All right, so now it's time to meet Ria Francis. Hello, Ria.
Hello, Chrissy.
How are you, my darling?
Very well, thank you.
Now, you've come to talk about your story today, and I know this particular story is going to help a lot of the viewers, especially mums that maybe have been having a hard time.
Sure.
So you actually had twins.
I did.
But they were born prematurely.
Yeah, 8 weeks prematurely.
8 weeks, gosh.
At £3.
£3, my
Yeah,
goodness. Sure. Okay, so what was that like for you, you know, sort of realising this was happening? How did you react, and how did you cope with things, and what happened?
Well, they were born 8 weeks early, and they were in special care for a whole month. And I had two older children. So the whole time that I was in the hospital, I felt guilty because I wanted to be at home with the older boys, and the whole time I was at home, I wanted to be with the twins.
Oh gosh, so you were already torn
already,
between...
Yeah, you're expressing milk all the time so that you can give it to them through tubes, and they're absolutely tiny, and they go through lots of different stages.
Can you just show us sort of how small
they were? The same size as my husband's hands, so they were like this sort of size.
Oh, wow.
They were miniature. I found their baby grows the other day, and they're so absolutely tiny.
When you looked at them for the first time, what went through your head? Do you remember?
You can't believe that a human can be that tiny.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and everything's so perfect, but that in miniature, and that they look so vulnerable.
Gosh.
In the incubators, and yeah.
And how were you coping? Because I know you did start writing your book, but how did you cope sort of that month sort of in the hospital? How were you mentally? How were you feeling within yourself?
I was just determined that they were going to get better, and they were going to come out, and they were going to be healthy. So I just spent a lot of time just thinking about how either giving positive vibes and expressing the milk, and that was a real big thing for me.
So this is a really good point, Rita. I just have to talk about that, because negative situations do happen, and sometimes, you know, there's nothing we can do about them. No. They come out of the blue. You're not expecting it, but what you're saying there about the determination, you've got a choice. If you're faced with that kind of situation, you can either sort of be very negative and say, oh my God, everything's going to go wrong and I should just give up, or do what you did, even though it was a really, really difficult time for you, but you still had you kept that determination in you and that belief that things were going to get better, and that's so important.
I had to believe they were going to be okay.
Yeah.
I had to believe that. That's what kept me going.
By the way, they are okay today.
They are okay.
Because, you know,
they're wonderful.
Because of the attitude that you had, I believe. So, but then obviously you were telling me earlier that you did have postnatal depression with one of your previous children that you had first.
My first child, I had postnatal depression, yes.
So you're already kind of prepared, you didn't want to kind of fall into that again?
No, it's very self-aware. As a mother of twins, you're very vulnerable to things like that.
Okay. Because
of the lack of sleep. Sleep deprivation can take people to places that they never ever believed they could go to.
Okay.
And it can be very depressing. And just in a very vulnerable situation.
So when you went home with the twins, what were things like when you did actually get home?
Well, I was feeding them, and they just tended to get ill quite quickly. So they would pick up viruses and then be taken back into hospital. And also they didn't put on weight at the same rate as the other children, or at the rate the doctors wanted them to put on weight. And we found out it was because they were dairy intolerant. Yeah. So I had to change my diet. They couldn't have any formula. They had to be breastfed. And so their failure to thrive was because they were so intolerant to all the different things that I was eating and that were in the formula milk they'd been given. Yeah,
that must have been hard.
Yeah, that was quite difficult.
But in order for you to cope, you did something different, didn't you?
I did.
Instead of turning like some people do, like, you know, they turn to something negative. Maybe there's people that, you know, will turn to alcohol or something worse, just to be able to cope. Yeah, sure. Although it's not really a coping mechanism, it's just making things worse. You did something different. You started writing.
I did. Yeah, I did. When the twins were very sick, one of them had a real difficulty breathing, and I found it very difficult to sleep, so I became an insomniac, and I'd like to watch them. So I started writing a book.
It's called Inflicted.
It's called Inflicted. Yeah, and it's got 2 storylines running through it. One that's set during the Second World War, in the ghetto of Theresienstadt, based around the Holocaust.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what were the kind of things that you were writing here? You said there was 2 stories running.
There's 2 stories running through it. One is about Theo, and he's a teenage boy, and he's just lost his baby sister, and he's feeling guilt about losing his baby sister.
Were these some of the emotions that you were going through at the time?
I think what happened to me, I felt guilty that the twins had been born early, and I think it's quite...
Which was not your fault
not
at all.
Not my fault, but
still,
it's fascinating that people feel guilty for things that aren't their fault.
So true.
Which was the theme that I focused on for Theo, that he feels very guilty about the loss of his baby sister, but it isn't his fault.
Yeah.
And he learns that along the way, but it takes him a long way, and he's got very low self-esteem, and that has a massive impact on his life.
And how did writing actually help you get through the hard times then, Ria?
It was an outlet for me. It was cathartic. Yeah. I watched a programme while I was sitting with the twins one day while I was up late with them about Albert Goering, who anecdotally rescued Jews from the ghetto of Theresienstadt while they were incarcerated there, under the pretense that he wanted labour for his arms factory. And he was obviously the brother of Hermann Goering, the prominent Nazi. So it was at great personal risk that he did this. And he would just go to the gates and ask for labour. So I've based the character of Anna around the young girl who does that. She's 15 and she gets incarcerated in the ghetto and then gets rescued by...
So you've got a very creative mind as well. That's good. Now, Ria, just before we go to a break, because we've got about a minute left, how are the twins doing today?
They're doing very well. Yeah, they're 5 and they're thriving now.
They're 5 now, yeah. 5 and thriving.
5 and thriving, yeah. They are.
All right, so what would you say to mums that are watching maybe that are experiencing some maybe postnatal depression, or they have the same issue at the moment and they're worried sick? What would you say to them?
I would say
if they didn't want to be writing.
If they don't want to be writing.
Write.
I think for anyone, if you think you're suffering with postnatal depression, you need to find someone to talk to who will not be judgmental, because motherhood is a very scary thing, and it always looks like everyone's doing a better job than you, and it's not necessarily true. And if you are suffering with something like that, then you have to have a non-judgmental ear, and then you can be able to seek professional help.
Yeah, and there's absolutely no shame in asking for help, because it is a hard, it's a hard job anyway. Never mind if the children are poorly or the child's not very well. That just adds to it. And then, like you said, not sleeping very well. It's quite overwhelming.
Absolutely.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with asking for advice.
No.
Ria, thank you so
much.
Thank you for sharing your story, and all the best with your book. Or books, I should say, because it's not the first one you've written. Thank you so much. All right, guys, do stay tuned, because after the break, we're going to be joined by the lovely Hannah Richards, who you normally see doing our healthy recipes on screen. But she's going to be in the studio to give us some advice on how to lose weight and how to make sense of some of those very confusing food labels. Join us after this.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. So, do you guys know what's actually in the food that you are eating, especially that naughty stuff? Well, Hannah Richards is here to basically tell us what's in our food.
Absolutely. Hi, Chrissy.
Terrible stuff that we've been talking about during the break.
I know.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
We've given this all up because it's now January.
Yes.
However, okay, so
it looks very tempting, I have to say. I don't know if you guys can see what's. Do you want me to hold it up? I can hold it up. We have some very naughty things here right now. What do we have? We have muffins.
Okay. So
that
these
smell
are
delicious.
These are things that how do you make a decision when you're going to buy something that's a treat? Would you base it on that it doesn't have gluten in, or that it's calorie content?
I normally look at the calorie content.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So here we've got 3 chocolate bars that you might buy in any supermarket or newsagent, and I won't tell you where they're from. But would you expect any of these chocolate bars here to first of all have, let's say, wheat flour in them?
No.
No. And that's why people are, buying products that they think have low calories in them, but actually they've got hundreds of other hidden ingredients that our bodies can't filter out. So remember this, anything that goes in has to come out. So this guy here has got 5 ingredients in him. This guy here has got a whopping 44 ingredients and 3 E numbers. But on a calorie basis, they're all exactly the same.
So this is the thing, I mean, 44 ingredients. I mean, what on earth, apart from chocolate
Exactly.
and a few nuts is in there. It's just...
And this one is the rawest of them all, and it's only got sort of 5 ingredients, which is raw cacao, some sugar. They've all got emulsifiers in. Emulsifiers are binders. So it's like carrageenan is a really dangerous ingredient to have in our food. But all these products
Never
have got...
heard of that.
Yeah. Carrageenan. It's actually a natural seaweed, but it plays havoc with our digestive systems.
Oh my gosh.
So all these guys have got, these two here are marketed as being free from gluten because we're all gluten crazy. But is it better to be free from gluten or have 44 other ingredients that your body doesn't know
What kind
about?
of ingredients are we talking about here? Because it's not natural, is it, most of it?
No, not natural. So, well, Chrissy, if you would do the honours in reading out some of those ingredients.
She's very official today with her red clipboard. You see that?
I need a pen.
All right. So we understand the first lot: soft brown sugar, milk chocolate, cocoa powder, cocoa mass. Now here we go. Anhydrous milk, fat, emulsifier, soya lecithin.
Yeah.
I can never say this word. Let me try. Caramelized sugar, maize, glucose syrup, pasteurized free egg. Okay, let me go down a bit. Humectant vegetable glycerine. Oh.
The list goes on, right?
Yeah, they're getting harder and harder to read.
And they're getting longer and longer.
Diglycerides.
Yeah. It's crazy.
What is that?
Exactly. What is it? The rule is if you can't pronounce the word that's the ingredient in your food, surely it can't be good for you.
God.
And if you can't understand what it is and how to pronounce it, then your body's not going to be able to break it down. And if your body doesn't break it down, then it just stays and rots in your body. So you want to really look at food labels to see for ultimate health, because they are hiding. It may be free from gluten, but it's not free from a chemical cocktail of nasties.
Oh my God. I just don't understand how companies get away with doing it. It just seems to be
yeah, it's
poisoning everyone.
It is. It's poisoning. It's poisoning.
Now this is why obviously you do the nutritional tips, the healthier recipes. If you guys have been watching the show, you see that Hannah does alternatives. So it's not that you're going to deprive yourself, because I love a sweet treat, especially after my dinner. I want to have a nice dessert. And there are things that you can make and things that you can do that are very healthy but satisfy that sweet craving.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, some of these things here you might have once in a while, and going for the darker chocolate options of obviously better. But if you're looking to lose weight and still have a sweet craving, you've got to go for things like natural sweeteners that are going to spice your foods up. Cinnamon is a great one. All your 5 spices that have nutmeg and cinnamon and spice and cloves, they're gonna spice your foods up. Raw chocolate, peanut butter is a great one as well.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the sweet things, it's about the cravings, and rather than going for something sweet, we want to reduce our sugar cravings, and we reduce our sugar cravings if we're satisfied with the food we eat.
Right.
So generally, if people are lowering their calories and lowering their food intake, you're not going to get satisfied by food, and then you're.
But if a person does want to lose weight, because obviously we're still sort of at the beginning of the year, and it's some people still kind of maybe joined the gym already and trying to fight those extra pounds. But obviously they do have to reduce their calorie intake a bit.
Yeah.
What would you recommend then to sort of do it in a way that they're satisfied but not eating a bunch of chemicals or low fat stuff or diet drinks that are so bad for you?
Sure. I would say if it comes from an animal, falls off a tree, or grows up from the ground, it's good to eat. If it doesn't do any of those things, you've got to question where it comes from and therefore how your body's going to process it. So that looks like all our lean meats and fishes, all our vegetables, all our fruits, and to a degree all our whole grains as well.
Okay.
So the most natural that's possible for you to get hold of is going to be the healthiest option for your body.
And the thing is as well, because you actually feel fuller when you eat the natural stuff. So
Absolutely.
you're probably going to end up not eating as much anyway, so you lose the weight
Absolutely.
that you want to lose.
It's like if I eat one of these one of these flapjack bites, which is bite size, I don't think there'd be anyone in the studio that would be satisfied after one. We'd all go back for another one.
Yeah.
But if that bite size was, you know, had some real food in it, like a good whole fat, then that would satisfy you more. But because it is full of sugar, it's like a little drug that keeps pulling you back in and in and in, and you just keep eating and eating and eating.
Gosh. Now, I don't know if I can, I'll ask you this question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I wasn't planning on asking this, but there are people, for example, when they start to cut out sugar, they get really bad headaches. Is there any way to kind of counteract that, or you just have to kind of like just detox and get it out your system and then you'll be okay?
I think that it's hard. I mean, it's like giving up anything like smoking or chocolate or coffee. If you go completely cold turkey on it, it's going to be really difficult.
Okay.
So there are steps you can take to be like a process. So if it's milk chocolate, go to 70% dark chocolate to more chocolate, raw chocolate, sorry. And just do it in stages. Don't do it all at once. If you know you're going to fail, then do it over a month.
Yeah.
Give yourself a realistic target to cut something out or to reduce the sugar intake.
That's actually a really good point, because I think the mistake people make is they do try to sort of cut everything at once, and it's just too much because the cravings are still there. But even if you make like a couple of changes, maybe one a week or something.
This is the thing,
helps.
everyone thinks that to lose weight or to be healthy is a really hard thing to do. But all people have to do is say that they want to make a change. And that change for you could be drinking an extra glass of water today. It could be taking the stairs instead of the escalator. It could be swapping your milk chocolate to your dark chocolate. One simple change then will sort of have a roller coaster effect.
Because you feel good, don't you, that you've
absolutely.
done it, and then you want to do more.
Yes.
Okay. So Hannah, before we go, completely changing the subject, because we did see sort of the acts of kindness. Tell us about maybe some of the nicest thing anyone's done for you, one of the nicest things that you can remember. I forgot to ask my other guest, sorry.
Put me on the spot, Chrissy.
Does anything sort of stand out for you that someone's done for you?
Acts of kindness.
Yeah.
I guess it's tough. I can't think of one particular thing, but I would say the people who are there for you no matter what.
Yeah.
When you're least expecting it, or you don't even ask for anything, they're the people that are there through, you know,
thick and thin.
Thick and thin, they're there.
Definitely.
And they don't need any reward for it or almost any thanks, because you know they're just a constant in your life.
That's so cool. We need to appreciate people like that, don't we?
Absolutely.
Hannah, thank you so much. I'll tell you guys, I've got 1 minute. I'll just tell you one of mine was when my lovely friend came over and did all my ironing for me, because I was so stressed out. I was so busy. I had a massive pile of ironing, and she just came around, she did the ironing, she did some housework for me. Didn't ask, you know, I didn't ask her to do it. She just came around and saw I was in a bit of a mess, and she helped me. And that was something so nice for me, because it helped me out. It took a load off my mind. And and it doesn't have to be a major thing or cost anything, does it?
Yeah, just the little bits.
Just the little stuff. All right, guys, so we have to leave it there for today, but I hope you've enjoyed the show. And if you want information about any of our guests today, you can visit the website chrissybshow.tv. Hannah, thank you so much. Thank you to all our other guests, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.